Hi, I'm Matthew Vadum, Senior Vice President and Editor at the Capital Research Center, here on behalf of James Simpson to discuss his article, Black Lives Matter, Racist Provocation with Radical Roots. The Black Lives Matter movement casts itself as a spontaneous uprising born of inner-city frustrations, but that's not the whole story. The movement is the playground of a web of dangerous, well-funded radical organizations that have been agitating against the American system of government for decades. Black Lives Matter claims to be nonviolent. Its website says the Black Lives Matter network advocates for dignity, justice, and respect. Black activists have raised the call for an end to violence, not an escalation of it. But this is just a tactic, a false claim calculated to reduce public resistance to its hateful racist message and the violence its members routinely perpetrate. Crime had been trending down for decades, yet in 2015, as the movement's activism intensified, homicide rates increased dramatically. In Houston, homicides rose 25%, in Washington, D.C., 54%, Baltimore, 59%, Milwaukee, 73%, and in Cleveland, homicides jumped a whopping 90%. Overall, homicides increased 17% in the 50 largest cities, the greatest increase in 25 years. Black Lives Matter activists are routinely observed screaming obscenities, urging that police officers be murdered, and physically attacking police. For example, this past July, 21 police officers were injured by rocks, steel pipes, and fireworks during a demonstration in St. Paul, Minnesota, where protesters shut down the interstate for 5 hours. One officer suffered a spinal fracture after a concrete block was dropped on his head. At a Minnesota fair protest last summer, Black Lives Matter activists shouted, "Pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon."
Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon. Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon. Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon. Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon.
Fueled by dishonest, sensationalized media reports about police-involved shootings, Black Lives Matter agitation has provoked numerous police killings, lawlessness, and unrest in minority communities throughout the United States, culminating most recently with the horrific ambush murders of 5 policemen in Dallas and 3 in Baton Rouge, with many more wounded. But why would a movement calling for an end to violence do such things? Because a simple desire to end police abuse, mind you, that has to varying extents plagued all law enforcement agencies everywhere since modern policing was invented, only scratches the surface of the frightening ideological lineage of Black Lives Matter. 3 activists claim credit for the creation of the Black Lives Matter slogan and hashtag: Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and Opal Tometi. All of them are associated with the radical socialist left. Alicia Garza was executive director of an organization called Power, which evolved from the now-defunct communist group STORM, Standing Together, to organize a revolutionary movement. STORM was an organization that hoped to foment revolution in America and whose members went to Cuba to support that country's brutal communist dictatorship. Patrisse Cullors was trained by Eric Mann, a former Weather Underground leader. For those too young to remember, the Weather Underground was a domestic terrorist group whose goal was to wage war against and overthrow the federal government. At a 2015 Netroots Nation conference, Cullors led chants shouting, "If I die in police custody, burn everything down, rise the fuck up. That is the only way motherfuckers like you will listen."
If I die in police custody, if I die in police custody, burn everything down. Burn everything down. Because no building is worth more than my life. Because no building is worth more than my life. And that's the only way motherfuckers like you listen. And that's the only way motherfuckers like you listen.
Opal Tometi is executive director of Black Alliance for Just Immigration. Like many organizations that Garza and Cullors are associated with, Black Alliance for Just Immigration is actually a front group for something called the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, a descendant of the new communist movement inspired by Chinese dictator Mao Zedong and the many communist revolutions occurring throughout the world in the 1960s and 1970s. Of course, Black Lives Matter, just as all lives do. But the Black Lives Matter movement is about so much more than that, and people ought to know what its leaders truly stand for. If allowed to continue, Black Lives Matter agitation will bring greater civil unrest and anarchy. To learn more, please click the link on your right to the full story on our website. If you liked this video, please subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. Thanks for watching.